Bob
Good
Harris is
morning.
naked.
I'm wearing my pajamas. Good morning, Matt Waldman. A little behind the scenes, people will break that fourth wall. Like V-neck T-shirts make it look like you're wearing pajamas. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. But hey, that's all right.
That's okay. Good morning. It's week 1, people. We're allowed to be in our pajamas. There's a lot going on.
That's for sure. I mean, if the ESPN people can pull it off with shorts underneath all that stuff or whatever's going on there, I don't want to know what's going underneath them. That's all. That's all I can say.
Can we talk about for both the McAfee Saban duo? How is that gonna work out?
I think that McAfee may not physically have a black eye, but he's definitely going to get a verbal whooping at some point. You can just see it.
Much like you'll get one today, sir.
Okay.
No, we're heading into week
yourself.
1. I think a little foreshadowing there. We're heading into week 1, people. We got games on Thursday. We got a game on Friday in Brazil. The Eagles and Packers are heading down to South America for that game. But the Baltimore Ravens and Kansas City Chiefs kick things off. And so some interesting news to start the day was that Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been placed on the non-football injury list. Apparently, he's been dealing with PTSD. PTSD. I said that right.
PTSD.
PTSD. Good Lord. Stemming from a self-defense incident in 2018. So he's been working through this for quite some time. So he's going to open the season missing 4 games. So the arrival of Samaje Perine perhaps means more. Does Perine drop Isaiah Pacheco's value?
I think there's potential for that if you were looking for the upside of Isaiah Pacheco claiming the feature role and he was going to ascend to the point that he would have more red zone touches and he'd be a huge part of the passing game. I think that you have to look at Andy Reid's kind of blueprint for running backs. And we know that he likes to use 2, maybe 3 running backs in different types of roles. So Pacheco, running back 2 with maybe low-end running back 1 upside, but he's not ascending into the elite realm. You're not getting a deal with him as an RB1.
Right. I think there's going to be games where you get that running back 1 output if he finds the end zone nicely. And I would expect him to be the goal line guy, but Samaje Perine's pretty effective there as well. So, and also an effective receiver. So I don't think he drops the value, but I think he'll be an irritant to people who expected this, maybe more running back 1 weeks. Carson Steele, feel it or fuck it, is he for real?
Nah, fuck it, man. He's for real that he can make a roster. But,
right.
We talked about this last week about Andy Reid basically saying, didn't look like anybody wanted to tackle him. I thought that was code for there wasn't really good tackling going on.
Happy preseason.
Yeah, happy preseason. But I think Carson Steele can catch. He has good vision. He has pretty good footwork for a big man. So he might surprise some of the reserves for that. Some of the reserves who missed tackles with him when he was at UCLA last year. But I think Perine's really more your Darrell Williams guy who can give you some fantasy weeks where Carson Steele might get some isolated looks, and we'll give him a shot. Yeah.
Vulture.
Yeah, we'll give him a shot for some things, but I think at the end of the day, you're going to see Pacheco and Perine split the meaningful touches.
I agree with that. Josh Palmer for the Los Angeles Chargers will lead the team in targets, feel it or fuck it.
I feel it if you're going to just confine it to he's going to lead the Chargers in targets among outside receivers.
This is Ladd McConkey slander on your part.
Among outside receivers. I'm trying to qualify this in a sneaky lawyer-esque way. But I was stumbling over my words, which is usual. So my footwork isn't all that good. But we'll just say that Palmer will probably lead outside receiver in targets. I think that Ladd McConkey will still lead receivers in targets. And it's one of those hills I've pretty much said in May that I'm ready to die on. So we'll see if it happens.
And you make a pretty convincing argument. If people haven't seen it, go to footballguys.com. We both work there. We'll write articles and such like there. Also find Matt Waldman at the Rookie Scouting Portfolio.
This is the unofficial break room. We're outside the facility where we're both having cigarettes and one of us kind of hands over the flask,
But I think you're right. I have over the last few weeks, there's so many last round DJ Chark picks. I mean, because he's opening the season as a starter. Sorry, Clinton Johnston fans. That's where we're at right now. I don't know that it'll work out. It was a last round pick. I'm ready to move on. But I agree with you on both counts. I think Palmer is going to be very busy. And I think people are maybe overplaying slightly the fear of them not throwing the football. I mean, yes, they're going to run a lot, but also, yes, they're going to throw. Trust me.
Has their defense? Last I figured out, how good is their defense? And what division are they playing in?
Right. That's the key, right?
Yeah. I mean, maybe if the Raiders can't get points on the board, I understand that. The Broncos, I get it, but they'll be Raiders and Broncos. Get your running backs out on that team, but the Chiefs, forget about that. The rest of the league, forget about that.
Moving into the running back role, Brian Robinson for the Commanders. He's underrated because he's considered a flex value. Feel or fuck it.
Oh, I'm totally feeling that. Because, I mean, you look at what the language is coming out of here, and they're like, we expect him to be pretty much our lead back. And we were excited about him last year from what we saw of him last year. And now the coaching staff this year is looking at him. And they run a lot of gap plays, which is power running, hit one crease. That's what Robinson does well. He's such a good receiver out of the backfield for a big man, and he can pass protect. So it's not like Eckler's going to take all of that passing down love. I know that he's a really good route runner, but they're still going to do a lot with Robinson in the passing game where he's going to generate big gains. So for me, Robinson's closer to that top 15 to 20 than he is to that top 25 to 30. Where I think he's been ranked at times.
Feel that and have lots of shares of him. De'Ami Brown is a guy I've been adding late in some drafts as well. Does he have any value in a 3-receiver lineup?
If you're getting him the same time as DJ Chark, it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of another.
Exactly.
I'd rather have Chark myself, but Brown is a younger version of that. Chark, I know, can catch the ball when he does really fucked up things with his hands. Like he's like that David Tyree type of pass catcher who can make just oddball plays, and you go, this guy shouldn't be able to do this, but he somehow transcends those moments. It's just staying healthy for him has been the big issue. So if you want to take a chance on the guy who has stayed healthy but just hasn't proven it, Brown's that guy.
And I know you're a big fan of Jaden Daniels and his passing ability.
I am, especially downfield. It's great when he does that. It's the decision-making quickness that I'm a little worried about.
I don't necessarily disagree on that, but I also totally agree with the first part as well. So, again, we're in a perfect alignment, Matt. I'm feeling it.
I feel like we're sweeping things under the rug today. But that's okay. It's week one.
We're sweeping some things that...
It's like a married couple that...
We'll certainly get to them.
It's like the married couple with the minefield. You know the minefield with each other well enough that you're just kind of like, we're at the dinner party. We're just going to put that here. No passive-aggressive shit yet. But we're getting there.
Oh, we are definitely it'll come out, people. Trust me, there will be battles on Jaden Daniels. Michael Thomas, will we be concerned about him? Can he be a fantasy factor this year? So set the table here. He was suspended one game for some kind of argument with the construction crew next door to him. I don't know if you read the local reporting like I did last year. Sounds like he had a legitimate gripe, but he handled it poorly. Whatever the case, he's suspended for one game. Do you think this looming issue was the thing that was keeping teams from being interested in him? And can he have some value now that maybe teams have a little resolution here?
Yes, I think that's exactly what's going on. Is they're waiting to see what their depth charts look like, who gets hurt. We're going to see probably no later than mid-October Michael Thomas in a uniform for a team. And here's the thing about Thomas. Probably if he had a gripe, he has a very exacting nature. Which is really great for being a wide receiver in the NFL. Maybe not so great in the rest of your life if it boils over to other things where maybe you're a picky pain in the ass, who gets on people's nerves. But I think you want that with your quarterback. Like, this is that type of guy. The big thing is, can he stay healthy? This is the exact place you want to get him, is off the waiver wire. If you want to, you want to take some chances. To me, he's the type of guy that every couple of weeks I look at my roster and go, I know this guy's not going to, De'Ami Brown's not going to do anything. DJ Chark's not going to do anything. If they do, that's great. But I'm saying if they're not, you look at them and go, should I just take Michael Thomas here? Because he might wind up on one of those teams, or he might wind up somewhere else with a good quarterback, and I can at least get 3 games out of him. That's great before he gets hurt again. If you're thinking from that kind of cynical nature, at best, maybe he does finally stay healthy. He's out of a Mickey Mouse offensive system that people talk about with.
Do the Broncos need any wide receivers?
Well, I think so. They almost got rid of the one that they shouldn't have had. That they should have gotten rid of. Yeah.
So
they do.
I would agree. He's a player to watch when the season starts. Keep him on your waiver wire watch list if you want to be aggressive and have lots of room on your roster. I think that's why this is the argument for like big rosters, right? Is like there's going to be these players you'd like to like. I want to have Justin Fields on a lot of rosters. I can't fit him on a lot of rosters, right? So players like that may give you a little something that you don't want to fight over with your fab budget, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah, but FCF. First come, first serve is your best friend if your league allows you to do it, man.
For sure. Josh Jacobs hating the Chiefs. It makes you like him more. Matt Waldman, feel it or fuck it.
I love the Chiefs, but there's one thing I love more than the Chiefs is the Chiefs' rivalry with the Raiders. And so when you think about Josh Jacobs, a guy who in high school lived in a car for periods of time in high school. And for him to go from that level of poverty to the level of wealth that he has, I know maybe not compared to other positions that are overrated. He can, he's still managing pretty darn well. So the fact that he hasn't let the money cloud him, and he still loves the game enough that he's like, no, I want to contribute to a team on a frontline level, and also, even if the Chiefs are offering me good money, there's no fucking way I'm going over there. It'd be like a Browns fan, Browns player going, no, I'm not playing for the Steelers. Fuck them. I like that. I like that. It just makes me feel like that we still have some semblance of fandom in the players and some semblance of just humanity that's fun about the game, even if it's not the ideal humanity people talk about.
I feel like it's possible Josh Jacobs has been slightly disrespected in the draft process this year. Maybe we were concerned about Marshawn Lloyd. I don't know. Opening the season, Marshawn Lloyd sounds like he'll be back faster than we think. A.J. Dillon on injured reserve, but early on, it's the Josh Jacobs show. And it'll be interesting to see what he does. I think he's a better receiver than people give him credit for. And,
a lot better.
We've seen that wide receiver, that running back 3 is the ceiling for him. It's a wide range, but I feel like there's been points in the season where he's gone way later than he should, or in the draft season anyway, my draft season. So we'll see how that plays out. Drafting a 49ers reserve running back is a waste of time. Feel it or fuck it.
Feel it. Totally feel it. Because listen, we know one of them's going to have value. How long they're going to have value? When Kyle Shanahan's going to get the Shanahan bug up his ass to say, oh, he missed that one hole on this particular play. Let's go ahead and bench him. Let's give this guy a shot. Or just his chance to play reality show, fickle reality show contestant who gets a little bit of power and starts playing games with people. Shanahan he's a perfectionist, and he also, if he doesn't like exactly what he sees from the guy, he's willing to find another one at that position. So yeah, Jordan Mason's the guy for now. Everyone's recommending, but if Mason fumbles or he hits the wrong holes a couple of times, he's going to put Isaac Guerrero in there. Come on down. Keyshawn Vaughn, come off the practice squad. Who can I get off of? Oh, Leonard Fournette off a waiver, off of the waiver wire.
Matt Breida is out there somewhere.
Matt Breida's still there. Whoever. Adrian Peterson. You can run gap. You still want to play? Those are the types of things that Shanahan will do. So I just kind of look at it as, if you don't have McCaffrey, you can play the waiver wire. You're bound to get 1 or 2 weeks out of every single 49ers running back if McCaffrey gets hurt.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who have drafted Jordan Mason in recent days, and it's okay to have him as your handcuff. Just know that everything Matt Waldman just said is 100% true, and he may be your handcuff for a game. And
yeah, don't overinvest. Don't spend all your fab on the 49ers reserve running back.
I think it's interesting. There's some players that we're willing to pay a premium, a handcuff premium for, right?
Yeah.
They're guys in the past, and and often they have fallen short. I'm looking at you, Alexander Madison. Players we assumed would step into a plug-and-play role that haven't quite been there. So I would agree with that. Fuck overpaying for your insurance policy. Drafting a Cowboys running back is a waste of time. Feel it or fuck it, Matt Waldman.
I think that Rico Dowdle has been low enough that you can give him a shot. I honestly think too that Ezekiel Elliott is, as long as you drafted him low enough, give him a shot, because he's still. I think those two guys. Dowdle's the guy that they want things to work out with, and I think he has the talent to surprise. I think that Elliott is better than people realize. Still in certain ways, but maybe not for fantasy. He's a great pass protector. He's still a very good red zone runner, maybe one of the best short yardage runners in the league. So you could see how it's a two-headed backfield with Cook being let's just see what this guy has. And maybe if Rico doesn't work out, we can do a Cook-Elliott combo and ride our way into this team. But I think that you can. They're both expendable.
I feel like Cook is giving me the Leonard Fournette vibe from last year, where he shows up in Buffalo and everyone gets all excited, and then he, has 2 games with minimal production, and then you can take that back to Cook in New York, who did much the same over a more extended period of time, had a little brief period with Baltimore where he also did very little. So we'll see about that. I'm not enthusiastic. I'm enthusiastic about the receiving core. I think this passing attack will be just fine. That includes my guy Brandon Cooks.
See, there you go.
All right.
He's the blue light special of wide receivers for sure.
I believe that to be the case. Xavier Worthy will be the rookie receiver people wish they drafted more of. Field or pocket.
Totally feeling that, because the risk is you look at Andy Reid's system. Rashee Rice did really well. They got Travis Kelce. Every other wide receiver has failed them. They look at him and think, oh, this is Mecole Hardman part 2. But I think if we're already seeing some special rapport between Mahomes and Worthy early in camp, especially with hitting routes downfield and how well Worthy accelerates downhill to do that, and he's good in the middle of the field, would not shock me at all if Worthy is the top wide receiver on this team by year's end from a fantasy perspective.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, I saw some plays. I thought it was nice. We'll see what happens with Marquise Brown. I think Rashee Rice is the receiver to own there, but I'm not against Xavier Worthy, because why, Matt? Why?
Because he's fast. Yeah. See, and no love for the fact that I actually went for a fast player. I mean,
I'm like a little over the moon here. By the way, just going back to Cowboys, I'm just getting a word here. This will shock nobody. Cooper Rush, the Cowboys backup over Trey Lance. Surprising development.
Wah, wah, wah. There we go.
Caleb Williams will be the fantasy quarterback people wish they drafted more of. Feel it or fuck it.
Oh, totally feeling it, because you know that what his upside could be, and he could go off, and you see the moments that you're like, there's some Aaron Rodgers like types of plays here that he's capable of making. But it's the 3 receivers and DeAndre Swift out of the backfield that you start looking at and thinking, if this offensive line is just moderately better, Williams could be a top 5 quarterback in the league right now.
Right. Again, you don't want to pin too much on exhibition play, but, eyeballs are eyeballs, right? You can see what he's doing out there. And granted, it is in exhibition play, and there'll be more pressure and teams will figure things out going on. I keep going back to the Daniel Jeremiah franchise-altering upside line pre-draft. And, I thought, that's probably a little hyperbolic. But then when I was watching the exhibition play, I thought, maybe is within the realm of possibility. So I'm kind of hoping for that, that level of play. I would love to see the Bears become a viable team. Would love to see all 3 of those receivers have their fantasy fires fueled by Williams. I'm with you. I think the top 5 potential is there, but I wonder if he wants to struggle a little
strong
bit.
Today. Fantasy fires fueled. Man, I'm telling you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Nice. Jonathan Mingo will be the 2nd-year player, which they didn't write off so fast. Let me preface that by saying Xavier Legette investors will be saying Jonathan Mingo is the second-year player people wish they didn't write off so fast.
I'm kind of feeling this because, listen, a lot of these young players think they made it once they get in the NFL, and that's where they fuck up. Or a lot of young players know they haven't made it yet in the NFL, but they're hoping for someone to tell them something that will help them navigate either way because they're in their early 20s and they don't really understand maybe how to work, how to approach work, how to seek out help, all those types of things. Mingo, who had an awful first season compared to the sleeper status that people were pinning to him, I'm one of them, who thought that he could really develop. He knew he had a bad season, and he didn't just kind of blindly hope that somebody would guide him towards the light. He said, who do I find that will tell me the unvarnished truth about myself as a wide receiver, and who will work with me too if I ask them? And that was Steve Smith. And the fact that he said, okay, I need to know, what am I fucking up on? How do I get better? And he worked with Steve Smith, and pretty much in Panthers camp, all you hear is that Mingo's routes look a lot better, that he's had one of the strongest camps among the offensive skill position players. And to me,
Terrace Marshall sent packing.
Better offensive line. You've got two good receivers who are going to threaten defense just from their route abilities alone in Deontay Johnson and Adam Thielen. I think Mingo could be that guy that maybe he's not a wide receiver 2 for fantasy leagues, but I think he could threaten wide receiver 3 status and definitely be a rosterable player who gives you some starter-worthy games in 2 receiver sets some weeks.
With all that said, what do you say to the Xavier Legette investors?
Wait till next year. Tell David Tepper to stop writing on napkins. Tell him to stop, just ignore shit that's being said about him. Put some headphones on, maybe blindfold him, lock him in a dark room. I don't know. Knock him out. Something.
None of this is going to happen.
Sedate him. I don't know. I think you're going to see specialty plays for Xavier Legette. RPOs, screen passes, occasional fade routes, and think Gabriel Davis type of plays where you manufacture opportunities for him to get open, and those are the things they're hoping to target with Legette right now. And then maybe there's hope that he develops into a full-fledged route runner and then becomes a more reliable fantasy option next year or the year after.
Spending the majority of your fab in the first month is the best free agent strategy. Feel that or fuck it.
It used to be a feel it, like if a Larry Johnson behind Priest Holmes was sitting there available, speaking of handcuffs, on a waiver wire, you would go for that, But I think now there's just people are too savvy about who's good on the waiver wire. There's too much information comes by so fast that I think it's hard to find that one guy that's going to make a huge difference in your league to the point that you're going to blow all your money on a player. I would say it's better to look at, no more than 50% on a particular player who could be that special, because it's more often than not it's better to accumulate 2 or 3 players who can give you strong performances at a lower cost than blow it on one, and then you're dependent on first come first serve for the rest of the year.
Right. I always like having the hammer. I like late in the year, and there are players that rise up late in the year. There are also players though that rise up, and I know our colleague, my Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio co-host, Mike Dempsey, who you will now hear Tuesdays through Fridays on the Daily Update podcast at Football Guys, alongside me, Bob Harris. He will spend every penny he has week 1. Like if he has a hunch on a player, and he'll end up with a Kyron Williams on occasion or something like that. It's still hard for me, man. I'm a resource hoarder apparently, because I like to have a little something for later in the season. I'll bid judiciously early in the year, but there is something to be said. I mean, I have to acknowledge that spending early can work out for you. So it's more your own style.
And I think with Mike, the good thing with Mike is that if you're a type of player like Mike, where basically you expect everyone in your league to be hyper focused on every transaction that comes through the pike, so you're trying to take advantage and get the early jump on everyone because I don't know, you live, breathe, eat, sleep, and do everything else, with that league,
Right.
then spending all your money on that's okay, because you're gonna make the priority to find somebody eventually and trade. And he's also a trader. So
He is.
if you make a lot of trades, I think the best way to look at it is if you make a lot of trades and you're very active in your league, spending all your money on a player makes perfect sense. If you're not an active trader, I think Bob and I are good examples of that. Are like, let me hang on to a little bit later because I'm going to miss out on some of these things, and I'm not going to be trying to trade. Or I'm in a league where everybody reads a certain publication of mine, and every time I show an interest in a player, they jack the price up by 1.5 the amount times that it should be. There you go. Yeah, fuck that. He's not worth that. Don't think just because I mentioned that I like Ben Sanaa doesn't mean that I'm going to trade David Njoku in a 5th round pick. You hear me, Smith? Okay, there we go.
All right, then. Well, you mentioned trades, preseason trades in fantasy football. Reactionary and foolish for your team's long-term health. Fuck it.
Feel it and fuck it. Well, I feel it in the sense that if you just have an itchy trigger finger about some unknowns and your roster's already pretty good, but you're like, I just want maybe that one extra running back. I've got Bijan Robinson. I've got 3 other starters who are in the top 24. But my running backs are a little weak. A little weak for what? Like that's one of you who's listening. I know who sent me this. A little weak. No, man, that's not a weak running back room. Just wait a little bit and assess. But if you've stockpiled talent, say it's dynasty, you've stockpiled talent, or even in a redraft, and somebody offers you a player that you could never get off a waiver wire, or and you're like, I can give up my 3rd quarterback who's a starter for Jonathan Taylor, and I give up something else in exchange for it, and I'll be a little weaker on my reserves at this one position, but I'm going to get Jonathan Taylor. Yeah, those types of trades you want to make.
Yeah, I feel like we see a lot of trades. People just want to do something, right? So they shuffle the deck furniture, right? They're like, swapping you. Go ahead. I mean, and hope it doesn't come back to bite you on the ass. I mean, I guess that's fine, but yeah, I'm probably not doing a lot of that. I have a willing trader. When I get a good offer, I'm not out there hunting down offers, but I know a good offer when I see it, and I don't hesitate to take it. And I know a bad offer when I see it, and I don't hesitate to turn that down. If other people are out there working their way through that process on their end and throwing offers out, I'm certainly open to entertaining them.
But Bob, do you know T-shirts?
No.
Okay. Are you happy with the trade? I wear V-necks sometimes. Are you happy with the trade?
I don't know. Right sometimes now? I should pay more attention to what I wear.
Okay.
It's entirely possible.
I don't know. You look comfortable.
I am comfortable. It's not bad. It just feels like weird.
Okay. Well, see, there you go.
I just don't have a lot of V-necks. I don't know how this happened.
Some trades
Somebody's been shopping for me.
Sometimes good trades are the ones where you feel a little weird, as I think both sides feel a little weird about it.
I mostly feel weird. Let's be realistic. Tim Patrick. We kind of mentioned the Denver receiver that we all had an eye on at one point because he's always good when he's on the field. He just isn't on the field much. He will now be a Detroit Lion. He's on the practice squad, but sounds like they'll bring him up at some point. Will he have fantasy value in Detroit by year's end?
I think he will, but I don't think
it's playable value.
Yeah. You're going to, I'll put it this way. Keep him on the waiver wire. If he's available, if you need it from an injury perspective, 3, 4, 6 weeks from now, he may have value for you because he can play some of that Josh Reynolds type of role that they had there. And they were looking for a 3rd receiver because they really don't want what's his name? The Raymond.
Khalif
Raymond. They don't want him really being their wide receiver 3 long term. They like him as a returner. And they brought back
Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Yeah.
Right.
So Peoples-Jones, he didn't really do much last year, so they were ready to get rid of him. I think that the Broncos were talking up Patrick for a trade, and they weren't able to trade him because of his age and the past injuries. But I still think he can play.
I'm gonna double check. They only have 4 wide receivers on their active roster right now. the Detroit Lions. So yeah, some people are getting promoted in fairly short order. It was interesting. Just a little aside here. I talked to Dave Burkett of the Detroit Free Press, and he's not as enthusiastic about the prospects for Jameson Williams as maybe I am. And my enthusiasm is like 9th round Jameson Williams, and Dave Burkett. He says, I know some of the other people around here see it. I don't see it so much. So interesting. Just a little side note there. We'll see what. I mean, we're all invested, so we're going to get what we get. But just thought it was interesting. I thought something Sigmund Bloom said on the Audible about a week or so ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, was like just having Jameson Williams on the field, even if he only gets 4 targets a game and they're like 30 yards down the field, he's going to open a lot of things up for the other players, and maybe 1 or 2 of those targets hit. But you have to wonder a little bit about a sustained role.
Yeah, at least until opposing teams look at him and go, we don't have to respect him as much as we do right now. But I think that's a good point. By the way, speaking of the Audible, the Thursday night Audible will be returning with Jeff Bell and myself. Should be this week. I got to tell Jeff that, but I think that we have established that we are doing it again this year. So we'll figure that out, I think, probably around 10 o'clock Eastern, pretty much every week during the season, and we'll go from there.
All right, one last one here. Jameis Winston will be starting at quarterback in Cleveland by midseason. Feel it or fuck it?
I'm totally feeling it because listen, the Browns have already reduced as much salary as they could off of Watson. This past month, they've freed up cap space. They have more cap space, I think, than anybody in the NFL now. After whatever they did with the deal, Watson bought his house to go hide in the woods in Cleveland. I think you're the one that mentioned that, or it was Jeff Bell, actually. Jeff Bell who mentioned that on our Football Guys board. Yeah,
I followed up on that. I talked to Steve King from the Browns Daily Dose, who he's been a beat writer there forever. Yeah, various publications out on his own now. I just basically said, does Deshaun Watson want to play football? And he said, I don't know that he does.
Yep.
As a Daily Observer of the team, he's just, and if you're not sure, I think, that's probably an answer in himself. And look, I don't want to go against I'm open to the notion that Steve King isn't a fan or whatever, but, it's just to add another data point to a series of data points pointing in a direction. And it does point that way. I'm hoping Deshaun Watson shakes off the mortal coils of whatever has been dragging him down, and I think we all know what it is.
Yep.
And overcomes all this. But if he doesn't, Jameis Winston is more than serviceable, and I agree. I think we may well see him be starting Cleveland by midseason.
Yeah,
I feel that a little bit.
Yeah, it feels like a very Browns thing to happen.
I guess maybe that's like a big part of it, right? Yeah. It's like just like where else but Cleveland?
Listen, when it's like your picker's off in relationships. If you've been through a period of time where your picker was off in relationships, or you've been in a dysfunctional family, and and the Browns are a dysfunctional family. I grew up in a dysfunctional family, and with the Cleveland Browns, when I'm talking about the Browns, as that is, and you just start to recognize patterns of things where you go, yep, that's going to happen. Like, this is going to happen at Thanksgiving. My crazy uncle's going to be there spouting off shit that he shouldn't be. Somebody's going to be out back doing something they shouldn't be doing. Somebody's going to make a passive aggressive comment that everything's going to get, blown up at the table. And next thing you know, the family's split up in 5 different directions. I think Jameis Winston is like, as the kids in the room, the fans are like, yeah, this is about to go down.
and who better to have around for Jameis Winston, the ultimate rah-rah guy, will take you out there and fire you up and get it going. All right. So week 1, people. A lot going on. Matt Waldman and I will both be regular faces. You'll see us often on the footballguys.com website. I'll be doing my fantasy notebook in season. I think we're going to sit out week 1, have some things to attend to away from the field for a day, so it's going to knock a hole in my week. But I'll also be doing, so that'll be out on Thursdays each week. My In and Out will be out early Saturday mornings. I'll have a Polarizing Players piece that I'm doing a collab with Gary Davenport. It'll be out on Fridays every week, and so check that out. The Daily Update podcast, 10 minutes of the news and essential information you need to kind of start your day feeling like you know what you need to know, and You're not going to get stomped on by something. What? When did that happen? That won't happen. It'll be me and Mike Dempsey Tuesdays through Fridays. I'll do a injury overview early Monday morning, all the injuries you need to be aware of coming out of Sunday's games. And I'll also be live streaming on Saturdays. So I'll be taking your questions live for an hour on Saturdays. Also Tuesdays, I'll be doing an On the Hot Seat where I'm going to talk to some up-and-coming fantasy analysts, and we'll sort out some of your free agent questions and things like that. So a lot going on for me. Matt, what will they find from you?
Well, on Tuesdays at Football Guys, Tuesday mornings or Monday nights occasionally if I can sneak it in, sneak it in and Clayton happens to be awake. We'll do the top 10, which I've been doing for the past, 6-7 years. Probably going to do it a little bit differently this year, but you're going to still see video breakdowns probably earlier than anybody else has been doing it over on Twitter. And X. You're going to find a lot of them there on Sundays throughout the day of pretty much almost all the games between Sunday through Monday morning, and where I'm going to give you analysis that will help you understand the link between film and fantasy, and get you, kind of give you an early start on moves that you need to make. And consider for managing your teams, and then on Tuesday, every other Wednesday will be the gut check, and I'll be probably doing a deep dive on some player and what their film is telling us, and what we need to be on the lookout with them. Wednesday nights, every other week, it's going to be Brandon Angelo and myself. Looking at college and pro players and talking about them from an angle of film study that few people, are going to be able to approach in the same way. On those other Wednesday nights, it'll be Felix Sharp and I, the Campus to Canton RSP podcast, where we'll be talking about players who you may want to know about in Devy leagues as well as in Dynasty. Dynasty leagues. We're probably going to keep it pretty tight to a handful of players for about a half hour. Thursday, Adam Harstead and I hopefully will still be doing the the Film and Theory podcast. FSA Writer of the Year, Adam Harstead, I might add. I think we're pretty much on point for that. I just haven't, I asked him about it and just need to hear back and see whether we're good
just
for
say
that.
you get the best podcast co-hosts of anybody, even the ones that can't dress themselves do a pretty good job.
I gotta say, no one. I laugh because I feel like one of them's getting kind of jealous right now, and I'm laughing because I'm like, he's the last one that needs to be jealous about anything, But we got that on Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be okay. You'll be all right. And then the roundtable, we got fantasy roundtable on Thursdays as well. And then also the replacements, where I try to give you players who nobody's talking about yet. I try to be 1 to 3 weeks early and saying, this is a guy you might want to be preemptive about. This is a guy that you probably need to add now. This is a guy that you can probably drop off your team, things like that. But these are players that aren't hot waiver wire names yet, and names where we have sudden injuries and everybody's like, what do I do? I'm desperate for a player. I need a 1 week player who's going to go off that nobody's going to recommend for their fantasy roster except at the replacements.
Good stuff.
So that's what we do.
All right, then, and we'll be here every Monday, feeling it and fucking it, as usual.
Yeah, with the Hall of Famer over here in his V-neck shirt.
We'll figure that out. All right, everybody. Goodbye. Have a great week 1. Win all your leagues. Fast starts are great. Goodbye.
Yeah, bye.
Love you.